Here's a pro tip. If a demonic cult kills your father while at work, it's probably not a good idea to get a job there. I don't know. Just doesn't sound like my thing. Welcome back, horror fans. I'm Leo, and Bootube Breakdowns is here to save your scary movie night. Right off the bat, Last Shift scores a 6.0 out of 10, landing it in our Ghoul Drool category. But here's the thing. I've already had to shoot up a cleaning crew at a haunted police station just to get this score, and in a few minutes, I'll show you exactly why Last Shift earned this rating. If you disagree with my score at the end of the video, be sure to start a Manson-style family cult in order to summon a demon king of hell, and then tell me all about it in the comment section. Last Shift starts pretty simple. Jessica, a rookie cop, gets assigned to babysit a decommissioned police station on its final night before shutdown. Sounds like an easy graveyard shift, until the lights start flickering, phones ring from disconnected lines, and voices echo through empty halls. At first, it feels like your standard haunted building setup, but things escalate fast. The station isn't just haunted. It's a holding cell for every unfinished trauma tied to a Manson-style cult that killed themselves in the building. And guess what? They're not done recruiting. As the night drags on, reality starts to bend, and what looks like harmless hallucinations quickly turn deadly. The line between ghosts, memory, and demons disappear, and Jessica's mind starts fracturing right along with it. It's part psychological breakdown, part supernatural siege. The longer she stays, the more the past claws its way into the present. When discussing the story quality, Last Shift keeps it simple, but surprisingly tight. On the surface, it's just a rookie cop, Jessica, stuck doing solo overnight duty in a soon-to-be-closed police station. Classic horror setup. But under that, the film juggles three storylines. Jessica's first night on the job, the twisted legacy of the Paimon cult, and the unresolved trauma tied to her father's death. As things unravel, it turns out this isn't just some haunted precinct. It's a full-blown spiritual echo chamber, built on blood and bad decisions. The deeper you go, the more the Paimon cult story expands, pulling in Jessica's personal history in ways that actually make sense. Every scare, every flashback, every creepy phone call serves a purpose. No scene feels like filler, and even when the movie dips into clunky exposition, looking at you, awkward chat with a prostitute, it still manages to keep the momentum. The only real narrative misstep is Jessica's mother, who floats in and out of relevance depending on which ending you want to believe. I'll get to that later. Still, the script sticks to landing more often than not. For a movie that could have been all set up and no payoff, the story earns a 7 out of 10. Honestly, the pacing of Last Shift surprised me in a good way. The first 10 minutes drag a bit with some awkward dialogue and basic setup, but that's kind of expected to be a slow burn opener. Then the homeless guy shows up, and suddenly the movie remembers it's a horror film. From this point on, every scene stacks tension like clockwork. What starts as flickering lights and weird noises clearly escalate to full-on demonic hallucinations and ghostly assaults. The best part, even the quiet moments matter. The film knows when to breathe and when to hit you, and every lull is just setting you up for the next gut punch. The escalation is clean, controlled, and constant. No filler, no dead weight. You're never sitting around wondering when something will happen, because it always is. For a single location horror movie, that's no small feat. Pacing gets a strong 9 out of 10. Now time for some personal context. When it comes to horror, I'm kind of a pussy. I love the adrenaline, but I jump at shadows, so when I say this movie got under my skin, take it with a grain of salt. Especially since I watched it with a buddy at work, and stuff literally started falling off the walls. That said, Last Shift is genuinely solid in the fear department. It nails that rotten, oppressive atmosphere from the start. The station feels less like a workplace and more like an abandoned psych ward. The homeless guy's introduction adds an immediate physical threat layered beneath the supernatural dread, which keeps you guessing who or what you should be afraid of. The ghosts escalate perfectly, from minor background flickers and cryptic messages to full-blown torment, murder, and arson. Even the quieter scenes drip with paranoia, like Officer Price's arrival, which flips from relief to horror almost instantly. Unfortunately, the movie undercuts its own success by peppering in 4 obnoxious cheap scares that don't add tension, they just break the flow. I almost handed this one a perfect score, but with the cheap scare tax applied, it settles at a fear factor of 6 out of 10. So this movie definitely fits the bill when it comes to a fun horror movie. Let's start with the makeup. The blood-caked demon faces were genuinely unsettling, walking that perfect line between grotesque and uncanny. The final reveal of Payment's face, pentagram carved dead center, was the kind of hellspawn design that actually feels evil, not just edgy. But where Last Shift really earns its stripes is in the practical effects. There's a fantastic moment where Jessica peers into an empty room, looks away for 3 seconds. Yeah, I counted, by the way. And when the camera pans back, it's now a cursed game of Jenga. Chairs and tables stacked to the ceiling. Bloody messages appear and disappear from the walls like the station itself is losing its mind. And then there's the lighting, weaponized like a character in its own right, dragging Jessica deeper and deeper into psychological ruin with each flicker. This is a movie that knows its budget and squeezes every last drop of dread out of it. Final fun factor, 8 out of 10. That ending, however, was the cinematic equivalent of a steel-toed boot to the teeth. It took everything the film built, all the tension, the dread, the descent into madness, and flushed it away with a final twist so tired it should come with a walker. She imagined the whole thing. Really? We're still doing that in 2014? It's the horror version of It Was a Dream All Along, and it's just as insulting now as it was the first 500 times that it showed up. If I wanted to be generous, I could stretch that ending and say that the film tried to show Jessica as someone fragile and grieving, targeted and ultimately broken by the influence of a real malevolent force, Payment himself. But let's not kid ourselves. There's just as much evidence she was a mentally unstable woman hallucinating her way through a violent psychotic break. And this brings us back to her mother. Was she warning Jessica because she was emotionally vulnerable, or because she knew her daughter was batshit and shouldn't be carrying a firearm? Either way, the ambiguity doesn't enrich the story, it just makes the entire film feel pointless in retrospect. If you're new to horror, maybe that ending passes. But for anyone who's seen more than 3 movies in their life, it's a slap in the face. Final score for that ending, a well-earned 0 out of 10. So that's Bootube Breakdowns' take on Last Shift. Averaging our scores gives this movie a 6.0 out of 10, landing it in our Ghoul Drool category. Do you agree with my rating? Scream your score in the comments and tell me what horror flick I should get next. If this saved your spooky vibes, smash that like, share with your horror crew, and subscribe to Bootube Breakdowns for more killer verdicts. Keep it creepy, and I'll haunt you in the next review.